Greetings, family. Joyous rising. Great rising. Happy Thursday. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. It is Thursday, February the 23rd, 2023, and the time is exactly 12:30 p.m. Hello and welcome back. It's so good to see you all. I do have a little bit of information to share with you, and this is exciting news. I love bringing breaking news or things that people haven't necessarily heard about in terms of mainstream media news, right? So, welcome. I am so excited to see you. Check in, family. Let us know where you're coming from. We are so thrilled to have you here. And again, I have some good news to bring before you. Yes, this is an awesome time to be alive. It seems like we maybe made some type of contract before we came incarnated into this reality to experience this exciting time where we're watching the whole world change. Good morning. Aloha, my family from Hawaii, Grand Rising, Louisiana. It's so good to see you. Hello. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make your comments and let people know that we give some real news over here. Good morning. Hi, Kentucky. That's where I raised my children for 20 years. Hello, Sister Sherry. Thank you so much. Grand Rising. We're always thrilled over here because behind every cloud, whether it's a dark cloud or not, we find the silver lining. We always look for opportunities. Hello, Georges. I'm so glad you made it live. Hi, Cleveland, Ohio. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and raised in Cleveland, Ohio until I was 14. And then my mom moved us to a small town called Portsmouth, Ohio, because she wanted to get us away from crime. Hi, Hollywood, Florida. I remember when Hollywood, Florida used to be a very popular place. Do y'all remember that? Welcome. It's good to have you. I am doing phenomenal. Hello, Pennsylvania. Greetings, Alabama, Arkansas. Hello, family. It's so good. Somebody says hello from Flower Mound, Texas. Greetings. It's so good to see everybody. West Virginia's in the house. Who is this from? Cape Coral, Florida's in the house. It is so hot here in Florida already. It's like in the 80s here in Northern Florida. Hi, Sarasota. It's always good to see you. Who else is in the house? I was going to say Arkansas. Hi, John. Hi, Charlotte, North Carolina. Welcome. So I'm going to get on with the show because I do have a special guest for you all coming today at 2 o'clock, and I'm so excited. Family, we know a lot is going on, right? Thank you so much for chiming in. Good day to you. Hi, Ohio. Hello. What is YouTube trying to hide? Oh, they're trying to hide me. Oh my gosh, they shouldn't do that because we have excellent, exciting, joyous news over here, which is why I named the podcast and my business Joyous Rising. Hello, and hello, Toledo. It's so good to see you all. So good to be seen and not viewed. Hi, Miami. I have family in Miami right now. It's good to see you. Oh my gosh, so much is going on in Miami. Do you all have a special event going on right now? Because I have family there. Flights were canceled. And I did not know that a lot of airlines had actually laid off tens of thousands of workers. Now, I heard that they were laying off workers like the end of last year, but they're still laying off workers. So a lot of flights are grounded, canceled, delayed out of Miami. What's going on? And then when my family members tried to find a place to stay, all the hotels were full. My gosh, Miami, you guys must have it going on. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you. Hello, Northeast Pennsylvania is in the house. West Virginia's in the house. And I know some people say they don't like listening to my introduction because I go through saying my greetings, but I am so grateful that you all took the time out of your busy schedule to come to the podcast. That is only right to me and fair to acknowledge you because without you, I wouldn't have a podcast. So thank you. Thank you for chiming in. I see Minneapolis in the house. I see Colorado in the house. Who else did I see? Minnesota's in the house. Trump Town. Chicago loves me. Thank you, Chi-Town. Chi-Town, I love you. Buffalo, West Virginia's in the house. You guys and ladies, excuse me, are wonderful. Hi, Orlando, Florida. I love Orlando. Newark, New Jersey. Oh my God, we have people from all over America. Hello, Las Vegas. It's good to see you. I even saw somebody from Hawaii. Hello. Hi, Alabama. Tennessee's in the house. Wow, look at all of our family members here joining us. When you hit the subscription button, Dr. Kia Pruitt videos come to your page. Oh, okay. So I'm so glad to see you all. Oh my gosh, I even see Washington State and Uganda. Hi, Uganda. It's such a pleasure to have you here. I see Tulsa here, Ohio, Gettysburg, Kentucky. Oh, you guys in Kentucky have a phenomenal revival going on right now. It is so beautiful. And I did want to report on that as well. Oh, yes, Land O'Lakes, Florida. So, family, thank you. Iowa is here. Keep checking in, family. It's so good to see you. Yes, the motherland is here. I think they're talking to Uganda. Newport, North Carolina is in the house. Even Texas. Thank you all so much. People are hungry for the news, for the real news. And this is why I established my podcast, because I know our news here is a little different from mainstream media. But what we do is we provide sources to support our claim, to back up our claim, videos I supply, and articles so that you can read at your leisure. So what I usually do is once I report, it may take me a couple hours in a day, but I gather all of the articles and all of the videos and I put them in the description section of the video so that you can check in to see for yourself what are the sources that I'm using to assert my claim that things are happening behind the scenes. And sometimes things take a lot longer than what we hope they would to actually come out and prove that the things that we're saying are correct. But family, we've been talking about a lot of things going on. For example, what's going on in the world as the world turns or hurtles back to the gold standard. I've gone through many podcasts through the years saying that countries behind the scenes have agreed to return to the gold standard. And now it's in publications as in the case of this one, King World News, which says that the world is returning to gold as money. And it talks about how when Russia and their Asian alliances embrace the gold backing for their currencies, then the whole world began to wake up. So we've talked about that extensively, family, and we can see that this is actually happening according to what some people call Project Sandman, that behind the scenes, 209 countries, or all the world countries, agreed to the return of the gold standard. As such, when triggered, they said that all of the countries will actually drop the United States dollar. Remember that? They said all the countries would drop the United States dollar and return to the gold standard according to Project Sandman. But nobody wanted to cover that. Most people wouldn't cover that, because it sounded a little out there. People were saying that gold was a relic. It's old, it's outcast. We're done away with it. But gold has returned as money. And in this particular video where I talk about the nations that overtly join BRICS, I go into extensive detail about almost 50 nations that we know of who have publicly announced that they have left the United States dollar or dropped the United States dollar for trade and return to gold as money. So that is exciting news, right? But it wasn't just those countries. So we only know overtly that there are about 50 that have made that announcement, but behind the scenes, all countries have decided to return to the gold standard. And I've talked about that extensively. I also did a podcast yesterday about a World Monetary Fund that put forth the goal to pay off all the debts and to fund all the humanitarian projects that we will see funded under NYSE and JSARA. So it's not just the countries behind the scenes outside the United States that have returned to gold as money. But also, we see the United States putting forth legislation to make gold sound money. And I've talked about this extensively. I've been talking about this for a long time about House Resolution 5404 that was put forth under number 45 in 2018 to define the dollar as a fixed weight in gold. That was brought forward by Representative Alexander Mooney from the state of West Virginia. He's a Republican. And then again, he introduced the Gold Restoration Act, and that he introduced Alexander Mooney actually in October of 2022. So this, we knew this was going to happen, but it feels good when you actually have the proof. So here it is right here. 42 states have removed taxes from the purchase of gold and silver. Now, this is particularly important, and it comes off the heels of Alexander Mooney, which sounds like money, right? This has an additional stating that the dollar, that this bill that he put forward should define the dollar as a fixed weight in gold. Well, recently what happened right after that, in 2018, then again, he came in October 2022 to introduce House Bill 9157, defining the dollar as a fixed weight in gold. Then we saw in 2022, this publication that 42 nations have said, look, we have to remove the taxes from precious metals because precious metals is real money. Precious metals, according to our Constitution, is defined as gold and silver, which means money, that now we can use gold and silver as lawful money, or as some people would say, legal tender. So here, let's look into why that's important. Let me look into the Constitution, because you all know what the Constitution says about gold and silver, right? According to Article 1, Section 10. The Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, prohibits the states from coining money, issuing bills of credit, making anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, or passing any laws impairing the obligation of contracts. So we know that paper money is not money. Fiat dollars is not money. According to the Constitution, what defines the dollar is a fixed weight in silver. But Article 1, Section 10 says the only thing you can use to pay off the debt, family, is what? Silver and gold. So the whole world is returning to the use of gold and silver as money. And I'm so excited about that. Now, for all of you who have never seen House Resolution 9157 that was introduced by Alexander Mooney, the representative out of West Virginia, he is a Republican, then let me show you that. Here it is. This is the same gentleman again that introduced House Resolution 5404 under President number 45. So this one, he says, is a bill to define the dollar as a fixed weight in gold and for other purposes. Can you see how the whole world is changing? It is being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress Assembly, he says. This is known as the Gold Restoration Act, and it will define the dollar as a fixed weight in gold and move American monetary policy toward urgently needed stability. Now, why do we need stability in the markets? We need stability in the markets because the old fiat-based, debt-based system is crashing completely. It is going to be demolished, including the stock market and all those things attached to it. And I already did a podcast. I think I did a podcast on yesterday or the day before that talked about how the stock market was collapsing. So this is why we must return to sound money, because as I've said many, many times over here, at the end of every empire, they spin up the money. They print as much money as they can. They spin it up. They rack up the debt, and we see that happening, and then they crash that system. Now, you all know over here that on January the 19th, Janet Yellen took to her platform and actually she also wrote a letter and told the Treasury Department, we've reached the debt ceiling. We can't go any higher. Maybe we should consider raising the debt ceiling. She said, this is the Treasury Secretary. She said, the debt ceiling is now $31 trillion. So we need to either raise it or we can take, this is what she was really proposing, extraordinary measures to deal with this debt by doing what? By dipping into the retirement funds of United States postal workers and other government workers. Has this lady lost her mind? So this is what she suggests that we do. However, you have many legislators, many people who are working behind the scenes, pushing forward legislation to make gold and silver sound money again. Not that they had to pass legislation, because the Constitution, as I already showed you, said that the dollar is defined as a fixed weight in silver, and that only silver and gold can be used as money. But what the white hats have done is they've used the system against itself. They've actually introduced bills and House bills and Senate bills and resolutions to be passed, to take a vote on it, to be passed so that they can pass these bills to make silver and gold legal tender. The reason why they did that is because had they come in and just said, we're the white hats of the military, we're taking control, we're taking over, DJT is our president, and we're going to come and just do whatever we want to do and make gold and silver money again, the people would not have been able to receive that. So how do you demolish the system? You do it from within. Talk about the 48 laws of power. Talk about the art of war and being smart, using military action to use the system against itself, to introduce bills and pass those bills through legislation to make money, gold and silver, legal tender, lawful money again, was brilliant. So now that we've talked about gold and or silver, let me take this time to let you know that later on today, we're going to do a deep dive into silver, because we already have established that the whole world is hurtling back to gold, that they're rushing back to gold, because when triggered, they all dropped the United States dollar and decided to return to gold for trade. Who was the person that started that? Who was the trigger? None other than Putin. So Putin was the one who actually, he actually went to the ukulele, Ukraine, can't say the word over here, and he cleaned it out, right? And had to remove certain things that 45 was getting into and all the other nefarious activities going over there. And then 46 put a sanction on him. And once 46 put a sanction on him, he just clapped back. And the way he clapped back was by saying, you know what? I'm going to drop the United States dollar and I'm going to go to gold as money. I'm going to use gold to trade. And I'm going to use my Russian ruble, he said, which is the reason why, as I said on last night, the Russian ruble was the highest performing currency in the world as of the publication around the summer of 2022. So the ruble may be something that you all might want to look into if it was considered the highest performing currency. After he did that, Putin did that, what happened? Other countries also decided to leave the United States dollar, to drop the United States dollar and return to gold and other commodities as trade. So other countries, Putin led the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and then Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, and they became known as Sal BRICS, which was monumental. And I have to say that Andy Schectman did a phenomenal job of talking about what made the dollar, the United States dollar, the world reserve currency. It was our agreement with Saudi Arabia. We will protect the Saudi empire in exchange for the oil, and then we will force all other nations to trade with the United States dollar. Well, once Saudi Arabia decided to join BRICS, that whole union, that whole agreement was over. But we over here knew that Saudi Arabia would eventually leave, because remember, we were told a long time ago about the triangle of power. It was the Saudi Empire, it was Soros, that billionaire, and his cohorts, and it was the bloodline families, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, and all of them. And we were told that once that triangle of power was completely dismantled, we would then have a cue that the whole world was about to change. And the next thing that would happen was that the queen would die. So we've been paying attention of all these signs. So again, when you saw different things happen with the Saudi empire, you knew that they were going to shift sides and no longer be controlled by the deep state. And that is what they did by leaving the United States dollar and then moving to the BRICS Union. After that, then all other nations then left and joined BRICS, and now it's called BRICS Plus. So again, that's the Project Sandman agreement, that they will leave the United States dollar. So what happened is we saw the whole world go towards gold. However, there's a new trend that's very, very exciting that I want to talk to you all about, and we'll do a podcast about that at about 2 o'clock, at exactly 2 o'clock in an hour. We're going to talk about silver with my great friend, Chris Marcus. He is the CEO of Arcadia Economics. He is a phenomenal speaker and expert on silver. He worked for the stock market. He has worked in many, many areas as it deals with precious metals. He publishes prolifically on silver, and later on today he's going to talk about why people are turning to silver, and he's going to discuss the role that silver plays in the markets and why people like investors are interested in silver. So that's going to be 2 o'clock today. You want to make sure you make it, and this is going to lead us into a whole discussion about silver and gold being used as money. So I wanted to bring that up before you all today, before we got into the other exciting news. So join us today live at 2 o'clock. A discussion I'm going to have with Chris Marcus of Arcadia Economics. He is a mutual friend of mine and Andy Schekman's. Andy Schekman is the CEO of Miles Franklin. And Chris Marcus actually does something called the Silver Fest, where he does a conference where he brings silver enthusiasts, gold enthusiasts, miners, wholesalers, dealers from all over the country to talk about silver, gold, precious metals, and particularly silver. So you want to make sure you make that podcast today at 2 o'clock. He also had someone from the CFTC, to a commissioner, to admit that silver prices have been spoofed. He got them to admit that JP Morgan had actually spoofed prices, and JP Morgan had to pay fines. So this man is phenomenal. You want to catch that podcast at 2 o'clock today. So what else is going on in the news? Let's talk about one of our favorite discussions over here, especially if you are an investor in exotic currencies such as the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, what else? The Venezuelan bolivar, and other foreign currencies, the Zimbabwean zim. Check out what is going on in the Iraqi business news. This was published by Iraqi Business News. Very interesting about how the Central Bank of Iraq will allow trade from China to be settled in the yuan. The yuan is a Chinese currency. You all know that China is one of the countries that have been hoarding up record amounts of gold. As a matter of fact, when we did the article a couple of months ago about how central banks were hoarding gold in record amounts in Q3 or quarter three, in the amount of 400 tons of gold. And they also said that that was probably around $32 billion or more in gold. In that article, it says, plus there are some mystery buyers that have gone unreported that may be mystery whales. Well, who were these mystery whales or big investors? We found out later that it was no other than China. So the Central Bank of Iraq said on yesterday that it will allow trade from China to be settled directly in the yuan, another currency that maybe we should keep our eyes on. And this is a renewed attempt to stabilize the value of the dinar. Things are moving in Iraq. Things are moving in all these countries to stabilize their currency as we move towards a global currency reset. What is a global currency reset? It is when you demolish the old system and you do a complete reboot of the financial system and the financial markets, and do what not Keynesian economists, but you do what Austrian economists say. You go back to free markets and sound money. So during this global currency reset of going back to sound money, you will also revalue currencies. So you will see a lot of people that are in the Intel community, or a few, I should say, talk about a GCR. That's the global currency reset, and the RV, or revaluation of currencies. Well, countries' currencies will be restored to its normal or lawful value based on the assets that those countries have. So this is what you're seeing right now, a stabilization of all the countries' currencies. So in a statement, it said that the foreign trade financing will be conducted through direct China channels in China using the Chinese Yuan. There are two options to facilitate this process, and I will put this article in the description section so you can read it at your leisure. But basically, it says they're going to reinforce the account balances of the Iraqi banks by having established accounts in Chinese banks that are denominated in the Chinese yuan, and they will strengthen, the account balances of the banks via the Central Bank of Iraq, ultimately transferring funds to the final beneficiary, in Chinese yuan currency. So they're saying this is going to be done through accounts with JP Morgan and the Development Bank of Singapore. So that's what's going on in Iraq. They're making concerted efforts to stabilize the Iraqi dinar. You all know that, and I've reported over here many times, that in October, al-Sudani, who's the new prime minister or the new leader in Iraq, said October around the 10th, I think it was. No, he said October or November, I should clarify it, that he was going to stabilize his currency. He said, I'm going to fight endemic corruption, which is something that the administration before me did not care about. I'm going to destroy and fight endemic corruption. I'm going to work with other countries to return my stolen money, meaning gold, and I'm going to revalue my currency, my Iraqi dinar, against the United States dollar. And he has kept his word. Months later, actually earlier this year, he then stated emphatically to his people in his language. I'm going to find that video for you that I did because I had it interpreted into English. He said, listen, Iraqi people, I need for you to stop trusting the United States dollar. Don't trade with the United States dollar. Drop the United States dollar and trust in your own country's currency, because I'm stabilizing our economy. So he said, I'm stabilizing our economy, and I'm going to bring hope and joy back to the everyday people. And this is something that former administrators or administrations in our country did not do. So this is exciting news. I'll show you an article that I did, a video where I talked about the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, and Zimbabwean zim, the Venezuelan currencies as well. In fact, I think I'm going to find out with you today, because I talked about, in the event that you're looking at operating outside of this fiat-based system and you're looking for other places to place your money, it may be gold, it may be silver, I don't know, it may not be. You might be looking at other currencies. So I want you to look for a video where I talk about what's going on in the system. And I said, don't sleep on the, don't sleep on the Vietnamese dong. Let's see if I can find that under my live videos, because I go extensively into how different countries are actually revaluing their currencies during this global reset. And I said the global reset is actually happening, and people just don't see it. They don't know. They don't know what's actually happening. So let me see if I can find that. Don't sleep on Don't sleep on the dinar. Here it is. Yes. So I want to bring this with me so you can see it, the video for yourself. I want you to look at this video and decide which, if any, currencies you might be interested in. So here we go. Here it is. This is the video that right now, what you see right here, that's an ad, but this is the video where I say exciting Dinar, Dong, Bolivar, Zim, RVGCR news. So again, RV is revaluation, GCR is global currency reset. I talk about how these countries are working to restore the value of their currencies and how they've had their gold repatriated back to them and how these currencies will be backed by all types of assets based on the resources that each of those currencies have. I also go into detail talking about how Vietnam was thriving and continues to thrive, but it was thriving during the global pandemic when everybody else was shut down. And I talked about how Number 45 had an issue with China, and because of the trade wars, a lot of the countries a lot of the, companies that were stationed in China did not come home. Some of them did, but what they decided to do instead of coming home was to go to Vietnam, to go to Southeast Asia, particularly Vietnam, because they can get cheap labor, because they could find workers, and they knew that they could rebuild it, and they knew it was a place that had a lot of economic opportunity. So when they went over there, the GDP, the gross domestic product in that country and the economy just soared, it boomed. So that is what is making their currency even stronger. So go back and watch that video. So that is what we talked about in terms of what's going on with Iraq, Vietnam. I also talked about how Venezuela was using gold chips in order to trade because they have a whole lot of gold. So when their currency was significantly devalued through inflation and sanctions, they decided to take power in their own hands, family, and use pieces of gold to trade and to go to the market and buy the things that they need. So they're a good example of the things that we can do to actually operate in our sovereignty. I love it when these countries actually show us things that we can do to, use our power, operate in our sovereignty. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. And actually show how you don't have to depend on the system. So I talked about Venezuela in that video. I talked about the Zimbabwean Zim and how in 2018, they made an agreement with China for China to actually help mine the gold for them. Yes. And how Zimbabwe had come up with their own gold coin and how I talked about the resources that Zimbabwe have, which will back up the Zimbabwean Zim. So go back and watch that video because again, that's another way that you can choose to operate outside the system. Okay. To look at exotic currencies. So yeah, let's get to this particular article. Now we're going to talk about what's going on with the Rothschilds. Or I should say something that's going on with the Rothschilds. I can't say this is all that's going on. I had two things that I wanted to bring up, but I only see one. I think I might have accidentally, nope, here it goes. I thought I accidentally erased it. So the Rothschild family have decided to do something very interesting. Now, I don't know if you all have heard about this, but let's dig into this just a little bit before I go to prepare for my podcast with Arcadia Economics CEO, Chris Marcus. Look at this. This was a tweet that came out February the 18th, 5 days ago. And I'm going to show you an article too that confirms this or supports this, I should say. But it says the Cabal. This is the deep state, the bloodline families that they're talking about. This is the United States Incorporated that usurped our government in 1871 and established themselves and as a superpower, but they were actually masquerading as the government. They were in alignment with and owned by the Vatican, and they were actually part of an expansive empire called the Roman Empire. They are also Babylon. We're talking about the Cabal. These are the entities that the white hats of the military were actually taking down. Remember, I talked about the triangle of power. George Soros, the bloodline families, Rothschild, Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, all that family. And please don't think I'm saying all those family members are evil. No, I'm talking about the powers behind them, the ones that were nefarious. And then you had the Saudi Empire. It's all crumbling when it all falls down. Y'all know I love that. I love me some Kanye West. When it all falls down. Hey, Kanye, I hear you singing. When it all falls down. Okay, bring it back in, Kia. So the Rothschild family has delisted Rothschild and Company from the stock exchange. This was a compromise to keep what is occurring within the family a private matter. What's occurring within the family? We can only surmise that since it's a bloodline family, that the nefarious faction of the family is being dismantled. We can surmise that when that Rothschild plane a couple of years ago under 45 crashed, that maybe something is going on with that family to dismantle the power that they had. So it's a family matter. It's a private family matter. So when the white hats took down or dismantled all these entities, they made some agreements with some of the people that you don't have to come straight out and say you were nefarious. You don't have to come out straight out and say that the Grand Army of the Republic is dismantling your power, but you're going to have to come out of certain positions. And according to executive orders like Executive Order 13818, your assets will be frozen. So again, the Rothschild family have delisted Rothschild and Company from the stock exchange. It was a compromise to keep what's occurring within the family a private matter. This is serious reconstruction taking place, and it is being overseen by the White Hat Alliance. How many times have I said the triangle of power had to be dismantled? And we see it happening now. It looks like a mutual agreement has been reached according to this person. But that's not the only source that I have. I have another source actually. Now, the thing about when mainstream media reports, though, they have a tendency to try to spin it. Okay. So let me look at this right quick, and I'm not going to keep you long. I always say that, but I promise this time because I have to prepare for another podcast. Let's look at this article quickly about Rothschild and Company. Here you go. Here is an article. It was published by Delano.lu. When was this published? On the 15th. A couple of days ago, Rothschild and Company to delist from the stock exchange. So I just want you to see I have two sources here to back up what I'm saying. They claim that it's not to be confused with Edmund D. Rothschild. I don't know if it's the same family or not. They say it's a separate Swiss company. Who knows? Because we know that the bloodline families actually had several sons. And when they do what they do is they take their several sons and they have them to marry different women from different countries and establish power in those countries. So according to this article, they're not the same, but they announced plans to exit the public markets. So they're saying that it's among family businesses that play the long game. It's a game that shareholders, do not like. So I'm going to leave that article for you again in the description section. I just wanted to bring that to your attention that things are moving along, that the Rothschilds are delisting from the stock market, that we had great Iraqi news, that the whole world is returning to the use of gold and silver, and that wonderful, wonderful things are happening. So family, not only that, but we're going to also bring forward other news to help encourage you that everything is going according to plan. What's else in the news? Today at 2 o'clock, I'm going to talk to Chris Marcus, who is the CEO and the owner of Arcadia Economics. He is an economist. He did work with the stock markets. He's worked with many companies. He reports prolifically on what's going on in the financial markets and behind the scenes. He's a mutual friend of mine and Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin. He's going to talk today about why silver. Why are people turning to silver? What part does silver play in the markets and in our everyday lives? What makes silver so attractive to investors? What makes silver attractive to miners? Why should you or I even consider silver? Pay attention and join in on that podcast today at 2 o'clock. Also on tomorrow, Friday, which is February the 24th at 2 o'clock, no, at 1 o'clock, excuse me, at 1 o'clock, we're going to have Gold Star Mother Susan Price to come on with XRP Lion One to talk about many things that's going on with the movement of the money that's supposed to fund the RV, with the movement of the money that's supposed to fund JSARA, the movement of the money that's funding the humanitarian projects. So they're going to talk about that, the good news that they're hearing about money being moved down the chain, and just some dates that are being discussed. Of course, we don't know the exact time and date when it will happen, but dates that are being discussed that are important for us to know. They're going to be here tomorrow. What is a Gold Star Mother? A Gold Star Mother is the mother of a fallen soldier. So Gold Star Mother Susan Price is a phenomenal woman. She's got a heart of gold. She's a loving patriot. Her son was unfortunately killed by the black hats, by the deep state as he was working in his job to liberate us and in his job on a secret mission to take down that dynamic or take down those nefarious powers. He worked with the white hats and his life was taken. So Gold Star Mother Susan Price is going to come on tomorrow to share some information along with XRP Lion One, but she will come again next week to tell her story and share it with us. She's an amazing woman who can inspire and encourage through her tears, through her pain, and even through her mourning. But the Lord or God, the God who has given her strength, has fortified her for this mission to encourage us and strengthen us, even as a woman who has lost her son in the battle. So she'll be here on Friday with XRP Lion One. And you all have said you really enjoyed the video that he and I did, the interview that he and I did on earlier this week. He'll be here Friday. Gold Star Mother Susan Price will be here next week, as well as Prime Minister. He will be here next week. So I'm so excited about that. Prime Minister is also a wonderful patriot he really blew up on social media over the last few years, but they took down every last one of his videos and he had to start over. So those are people that are coming on. Also, I'm going to have Andy Schectman on Tuesday from Miles Franklin to come back on and share about what's going on in the precious metal space, how the world continues to move towards gold or the use of gold as money. And then we're going to also have a genealogist to come on and share with you how you can trace your bloodline, how you can figure out from where you come, your people. You know how they say, who are your people? Who your people be? Where you come from? What's your bloodline? We used to ask questions like that before marriage. And we used to actually take blood tests to make sure that our blood was compatible. That was something that they actually planned when I was growing up and before me, who they would have children with. So, but that had to be first founded upon knowing thyself, knowing who you are. And who was the person that said, a person that doesn't know who they are or where they come from is like a tree without roots. So family, this is all the information that I have for you today. People are saying that they love Prime Minister. He is a wonderful patriot. It was my great joy meeting him through Gold Star Mother Susan Price. Yes, I hear you. Crypto 6 foot says my bloodline is Jesus Christ. And I love that. So people have said to me, why do you acknowledge ancestors? Sometimes you say in the name of the ancestors, or sometimes you say, I pay homage to my ancestors, because paying homage to the people who have come before me, to me, is my responsibility. Just like we pay homage to Jesus Christ. Some people say Jesus Christ is my bloodline. if he passed before you, ascended before you, then many people look at him as an ancestor. And I respect that and I honor that, as well as I believe and feel that we should respect and honor other people too. So family, that's it for today. I have to get on and prepare for my 2:00 appointment with Marcus of Arcadia Economics. I trust that I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Peace, family. It's my great pleasure always to come before you and encourage you and bring you great news. That's it for now. Bye for now, family. Stay encouraged. I'll see you all at 2:00. Peace.